A video by Yellow Sheep Production. So, under Israeli mass, there would be the injunction to institute policy under a formidable enterprise of helium and hydroxide. So, if hydroxide is a dismissal of helium atoms, there is a dismissal of flotation that happens. Because helium is lighter than hydrogen, there is a downward shift. And this downward shift maneuvers helium upward. And if a hydroxide loses its hydrogen, this is called a waste. And waste product is managed by the ability to enter a contract. This contract with lifestyle isn't in words. It's in the ability to open source carry. So guns are the contract in this system. So if guns are the equipment we use for telling people how to act, the helium atom would be the number of abilities to react. So since this helium atom does not have a permission to float, it would be required to downplay. This hydrogen is a group atom, which means it groups itself on a oxygen group. So under this helium apparatus, there would be multiple layers of a hydroxide. And hydroxide would be the ability to open a channel to a explosion. So carbon would be the necessity product of producing such explosion, which would be to carry a license for isotopes. And isotopes would be the removal of the oxygen through the absolute form of carrying a gun. So if a gun on uh, a hydrogen is opened, which means it has nuclear bondage erased, that means there is a helium product that produces a link to its parts. And parts would be a dismissal of the ability to steal the hydrogen. So hydrogen would be a spelling of these contests, rather than capitalism being communism. So communism would be the ability for the unloading of the helium atom, while hydrogen would be required to nomadically pressure a valve onto a new atom, which would be the erasure of a bond. And bonds are very strong unless they have linkages. So if a explosion is to occur with hydrogen, not only does this dismiss the helium, it must attach itself back into a nuclear system. So a nuke is required for the ability to hydroxide. So if a helium is no longer an aperture of carbon, carbon would be a monetization of the group called the gun of hydrogen. So if hydrogen would be elixir, which means it transfers ions, not only does the subgroup dismiss the center point, it must bend, which means it opens on contact. Not many atoms have this ability. it is a subgroup of realty, which means there's an upper and lower classification of when these hydrogens react, which would be funds, linkage, and manipulation. So if a fund is opened through the carbonite system, that means they have a open carry license to delete the atom as if it is a nuclear quantum. So quantum mechanics is the thermoelectricity of the second system, which is thermos. So if the thermos is linkage, that means there is a ability for thermodynamical reaction between the atom and the pressure point. So pressure points must be linked on contact. So if there is a system that designs the system, that would be called uh, the Bohr's model. And the Bohr's model has the nuclear apparatus of destroying the atom through double helixers, which opens a denomination of helixer but carries that into the next exchange. So under a system approach, there would be a fundamental apparatus of atomic weight. And this atomic weight would be the classification of the zoning of the migration of centrifugal forces. And centrifugal forces would be the unloading of decimals. And decimals are linked but also circularly rotated upon the quantum function of Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty. So uncertainty exists in all systems, but still does not commandeer the model of the system because the model of the system is still in contact. So to break this system, not only must you open the gun of carbon onto a link of hydrogen, you must exchange the hydrogen for a helium ion. So this breaks the point while still keeping in contact the system of Ephesian and Marxism. So Marxism is a market for selling atomic weight, but atomic weight is the nucleus of sub-zero category of freezing.